Welcome to the OK Let's Learn podcast. This is two podcasts in one where we dive into tons of great books and stories, and another where we just dive into tons of different topics. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. So today, let's learn about insects. Yes, those bugs, those critters, those annoying pests. Any word you want to describe. But what is an insect? This is a beginning of a series of episodes where we'll dive into specific types of insects that we all know. But overall, this is an introductory episode on what insects are, the types, what makes them different than other animals, and they're just fascinating. And I would argue, if you're as old as me, you didn't learn this in school. And especially my grandparents out there, my parents out there that are listening. Kids, trust me, I teach second grade. Kids love to learn about what's out there in their environment that they have exposure to, that they see every day. So there's an opportunity lost to learn about all these unbelievable creatures. Some are kind, some are interesting, some you want to be around, and some you don't want anywhere near you. So take a deep breath, and yes, look all around you. Maybe not in the wintertime, because that's something we'll learn. They're not out during the wintertime. Are they actually alive, or aren't they? But spring, summer, fall, you may not see them right in front of your eyes. They might be tiny, they might be hiding under a leaf, crawling in the grass, flying overhead. Or you know what? They could even be living inside the tree that you're looking at, or underground, under that rock, but they're everywhere. So right off the bat, we have to start with this. How are animals grouped? Scientists like to group them by their characteristics, what their bodies are like and how they live. Animals can be grouped in many ways. Some have backbones. They're called vertebrates. Some don't have backbones. They're called invertebrates. Insects are invertebrates. That means they don't have a backbone like humans, dogs, birds, or fish. Instead, insects have something different. They have a hard outer covering called an exoskeleton. Think of it like a suit of armor on the outside of their bodies. So what makes an insect compared to other animals? Not every tiny crawling creature is an insect. Spiders, they're not insects. Worms, not insects. What makes an insect special? Well, the characteristic that you need to know right up front is they have three main body parts. The head up front, the middle part called the thorax, and the end called the abdomen. And yes, they have 6 legs, 2 antennae, and most have wings, but not all. If it doesn't have 6 legs, it's not an insect. That's the big takeaway you need to know from this episode. Spiders, arachnids, that's their official name. Go back to my previous episode on Arachne the Weaver, back in Greek mythology. These spiders have 8 legs. Centipedes. What about them? And my student Henry asked this. And of course, I didn't have the answer because I never learned about insects growing up. But now that I'm diving into it, Henry, let me get back to you. My initial thought, Henry, no, it doesn't have 6 legs, right? Because that's what Henry said. No, it has many legs. So is it an insect? No. It's actually another group of invertebrates, again, not having a bone, called an arthropod. And it even gets more complicated than that because you wonder why we don't know this. Well, the centipede, because it has many legs, it's a myriapod. Yes, myriapod means many legs, but this is digressing off our main topic. Bottom line, you got to know, insect, 6 legs, 3 body parts, 2 antennae, and often many of them have wings, although not everyone. So where do they live? Very simply, everywhere. It's not even necessary to go into detail as to where they live. Clearly different habitats, different types of insects. But they begin their life as eggs. After that, they grow into one of two ways. Either there's a complete metamorphosis, like the episode that I did on butterflies or frogs. They go from an egg to a larva to a pupa to an adult. The ladybug, other than the butterfly, is a good example of this. When it hatches, it doesn't look like a ladybug at all. It looks like a tiny crawling creature. Eventually, like the butterfly, it forms a pupa, changes inside, and comes out as this beautiful red and black spotted beetle that we recognize. Some have an incomplete metamorphosis. Just goes from an egg to a nymph to an adult. A grasshopper grows this way. The baby grasshopper, known as a nymph, looks like a tiny version of the adult, but without wings. As it grows, it molts, which means it sheds its exoskeleton, and it becomes bigger over time. I mean, here's the thing about insects. Again, this huge overarching view of this amazing category of an animal. I mean, you have everything from cockroaches to butterflies to grasshoppers to crickets, mosquitoes, ants, bees. The list goes on and on. Just remember that the key piece is that they have to have three body parts. Like we mentioned before, you got the head, you've got the thorax in the middle, and then you've got the abdomen at the end. And very often with the head, it's the center of the insect's senses. And every insect's eyes and mouth are different. And all these different insects, so many deserve their own episode, and they will have their own episode. But understand this as well. Some insects eat plants. Some insects don't. Some insects eat animals. Some insects have wings. Some don't. The eyes. Some insects can see distinctly like we do. Other insects can't see hardly at all. Ants are a perfect example. They see poorly. Instead of their vision, they mostly use smell through their antennae and all these like different chemical trails. They follow scent paths left by other animals to find their food. Honeybees? They can't see red, but they can see almost all the other colors. Butterflies? Same thing. They can see even more colors, even ultraviolet that we can't see. And it makes sense, right? Because they're out there looking at all these different flowers, and they particularly go to certain flowers, and it's the flowers' colors that say, hey, come here, bee, come here, butterfly, come visit me. And how about the insect's mouths? They're as varied as the eyes. Think about it. Some look like sponges, others look like scissors or needles, and each insect's mouth is designed for eating certain types of food, and this makes sense. Some insects bite and chew solid foods, others suck liquids, and others pierce their foods. And we know this, but how about that mosquito? I mean, we can't see this, but its mouth is long and sharp, and it's perfect for sticking that mouth right into our skin and sucking our blood. Ooh, sorry. And speaking of sorry, farmers. A lot of us, I think, don't know about these insects, but there's these tiny aphids. Listen to all these different, they call them pests, yes, because they destroy farmers' crops. You've got the green peach aphid, the corn leaf aphid, the potato aphid. I bring them up because their mouths, they're basically like straws. They suck sap from the plant leaves and the stems through this straw in their mouth. And you talk about pests and being able to harvest so many different foods. These farmers loathe these little guys. But with every animal, you've got prey and you've got predator. And you know who farmers love? That we all love? That ladybug. Because they eat these aphids all the time. So we've talked about the eyes, we've talked about the mouth. Now, how about those antennas? Yeah, they are different shapes and sizes as well, and they help the insects learn all about their surroundings. We don't we don't have them. It'll be interesting if we did. I mean, apparently, whoever started writing science fiction hundreds of years ago apparently thought our aliens, whenever they visit us, have antennae, and I guess it makes sense. But the antennas on insects are used for smell and touch. Some can pick up sounds, some can detect movements, and yes, very often, because a lot of insects don't have our noses, most, like the cricket, use their antenna to smell. Now, we've been talking all about the head of insects, and what else is on the head, right? How about our ears? Well, again, going back to the cricket, yeah, they have ears, but they're on their legs. They're not on the side of their head. And that brings us to the thorax, the middle section of all the insects. This is where they all have 3 pairs of jointed legs. Notice I said 3 pairs, that's 6 altogether, with each pair, one being on the left side, one being on the right side. And right there at the thorax, not all the time, but very often you will have 2 pairs of wings. Again, one on the left, one on the right. In the legs, you can imagine they're adapted to their habitat over years of evolving to survive. The grasshopper, for example, their legs designed to jump, escape quickly. And yes, they're powerful, they're muscular, and they're, as you know, the defining characteristic of the grasshopper. Just look at it. The legs stand out. Where you have other legs, maybe like the honeybee, you look at them and they're all fuzzy. And what is it that important job is doing, those legs? It's about collecting pollen. And beetles that swim in the water, well, they would have, let's say, legs that are shaped like oars that'll help them move through the water. Now, I mentioned that all the legs are found in the middle section of an insect at the thorax. And you may be thinking, how about the caterpillar? The kids, the hungry caterpillar. It's the first book that my granddaughter just loves and devours. Talk about the pun unintended. But you may think, the caterpillar, what's up with that? It's not just the middle where all the legs are, but in fact, technically, yes. It looks like it has lots of eggs, but the 6 legs are near its head, right there at the thorax, and those are the real insect legs for the caterpillar. The others are like temporary, like helper legs, and they're called prolegs, and they disappear when the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Now, wings. Only adult insects have wings. Now, when I say adult, this is not like you become an adult at age 18 and you're going to be able to live for another 60, 70 years. No, for insects, you're an adult. It's like your final stage of your life. I mean, if we're going to use a golf metaphor here, you got 18 holes. You're only getting your wings there as you're teeing off on the 18th hole. I mean, imagine this. And in terms of their lifespan, most insects live less than a year. Their life cycle goes from anywhere from a few weeks to only a few months. Yes, there's other species that stretch longer, but here's the typical life cycle for an insect in North America. Their eggs survive through the winter. The young insects hatch in the spring. The adults appear in the summer. And yes, they pass away by late fall. That's why we're talking about you don't see insects in the wintertime. But this is a generalized statement. That means that's the most common for most insects. But how about this? The queen termite. And we know this, adults that own homes. Oh my goodness, you don't want a termite. They can live 20 to 50 years. This queen stays inside the colony laying eggs while their workers feed and protect her. Very, very unusual. Cicadas, there are other ones that live long time. They can live upwards of 15 years. But almost all that time is spent underground. And a lot of us have heard news cycles where it comes up every few years that there'll be a invasion of cicadas because here they come up and the nights will be just loud because they end up coming out of their hibernation. And when they ultimately come out of their hibernation, they're at their adult stage and they only live for a few weeks. So think of that. How would you like to be sleeping for 15 years and then just come up and live and have a great time for only a few months? Crazy. And then on the flip side, there's this mayfly. What happens with them? They only live a few hours. One day at the most. And yes, they're called mayflies because they appear usually in May, springtime. Now, the final point about the wings, and this is obvious, but it's not a stretch to say that these insects have survived for millions of years because of the wings. Think about it, right? They're able to move quickly on the dime from place to place to get away from predators. Now, the final section of an insect's body is the abdomen. We have an abdomen, right? That's our belly. That's where we digest our food. And the same thing with insects. Insects' abdomen is also the part of the body where the female produces their eggs. It's also where they breathe. Again, like us, but what's interesting about insects that's different from us, we have lungs. Insects don't. And that's the primary reason that insects don't grow as big as they do, because they can't take in enough air to circulate through their body that would create energy and move their body to grow and grow like we do. And that's the function of our lungs. Instead, especially if you look at a cricket's body close up, you'll see a line of tiny holes on its side. That's where the insect's take in air, the oxygen, to breathe. Now, to wrap up our podcast, we talked about another feature of what makes an insect, and that is that they don't have a backbone. They're invertebrates. And we have our bones inside. But no, the insects have the armor that we talked about, the exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is made of this tough, flexible material called chitin. It protects the insect's soft insides, like I said before, like you are a knight in shining armor, and that armor is tough. And here's the part that's so interesting. You're thinking, okay, beetle armor, I get it. You got the grasshopper. Yeah, you got some, you can see the exoskeleton there. But you may be thinking, what about the bee? That little squishy kind of like wonderful honeybee. Oh, yeah, it does have an exoskeleton. It does. But it's harder to see. Why? Because the exoskeleton on a bee is thinner, it's more flexible, and yeah, it's covered. It's all covered with those fuzzy hairs that we know that it's there to collect the pollen. And certainly that's a future episode. But bottom line is these bees are flying around just like they're medieval knights as well. They've got the exoskeleton. Friends, this has been a fun journey on an introduction to insects. I hope you have a better understanding of what makes an insect an insect. And like I said, future episodes, no doubt, on the most popular insects out there. And speaking of that, let's finish the podcast with the top 20 insects that are out there. Yeah, no particular order. We all know them. Ants, mosquitoes, honeybees, houseflies, cockroaches, the monarch butterfly, termites, the bedbugs, the dragonfly, the crickets, the wasp or the yellow jackets, the fireflies, the praying mantis, the grasshoppers, lice, ew, fleas, even worse, the cicada, the bumblebee, so many different bees. And yes, how about the moth and the Japanese beetle? And of course, we'll wrap up with the ladybug. Reach out to me at kevmok21@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group, Okay Let's Learn. That'll be in the comments. This is a place where I will drop all future episodes so you can see them. We can talk with other fans of the show. And yes, hey, just a little fun request here. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends, neighbors, coworkers, anybody. Get the word out there. And finally, if you don't mind, you like the show, give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or any podcast platform that you listen to. And always a review is great. Believe it or not, the way these algorithms work, you make a nice review, you do a 5-star rating, it gets it out there to more people when people are searching for podcasts. Thanks again. Have fun and keep learning.